So today we're going to be doing a reading from my latest novel, The Retelling of Fairy Tales. So we're going to do it a little bit differently this time. I know that often I put up on the screen the PDF so that we can read through it together, but people have said they don't need it. They don't need it. So instead, we're going to look at the cover for a second, and then I'm going to show you real quick some of the interior art, because for this whole story, I did interior artwork. Every chapter is illustrated. And so each piece has a cover. And today, because we're celebrating Pride, this is Star Wars Pride and regular Pride put together, I'm going to be reading for you For the Love of Coffee. Now, I love this book. It is a short story in that larger collection, and it's based on the Genie and the Lamp. But you'll have to see how it goes. But our main character, Jacob, is bisexual, and the Genie is gay. But that's not about that. That's just part of the story. They do kind of end up in a romantic relationship at the end, so just so you're aware. But I'm really happy that I was able to write these characters where this was not a story about their coming out or about their queerness. It was just a part of them, and that made me really happy to write. So today I'm going to be reading from my Kindle, my no stickers Kindle, which I need stickers for. So without further ado, let's go ahead and read. Chapter 1. Home. Hot doesn't describe it. Dry pales in comparison. Jacob feels his body shrivel as his knees finally give out. Gales of sand lash at him. The Arizona desert isn't supposed to be like this. It's not what any of the brochures or internet ads said. It had seemed like the perfect place to travel, hefting along a backpack laden with canteens, pump-up tents, and non-perishable foods, with promises of the future laying belly up in Jacob's hands. He was supposed to find his true purpose out here on a peyote-filled trek towards adventure. Instead, Jacob is dying. Whether he's caught in a cyclone or a sandstorm, he doesn't know. All he can do is slam his eyes shut and curl inward, trying to protect his nose so he can breathe without drowning in dust. The grains rake over the reddened patches of his skin, roughing up where he's not just been sunburned, but baked and blistered. His whitened lips rub themselves raw as he clenches his jaw and whimpers, ready to give himself to the darkness. But the wind only whips away as fast as it began, leaving Jacob nestled in a dune that curves over his body like a wave of beige. Coughing comes next, hacking, spitting and batting at his face to free his eyes. As they creak open, Jacob sees something unexpectedly lying off to the right, innocently uncovered in a newly made divot in the landscape. A lamp. An oil lamp. Slender and oblong, it curves up at the top with a delicate handle. Brass or perhaps gold, it's like something directly out of Arabian Nights, like it would grant you wishes if you only rubbed it just right. Delirious, Jacob crawls like a manic toddler through the sand, watching the heat of the sun shimmer off the lamp's surface. The relic fills the withered young man with bubbling, unhinged laughter when he snatches it, as if he could actually use the thing. Irrationally, it's more hope than he's had in days. Why the hell not, Jacob thinks with a crackling grin, rubbing the lamp with his palm and watching his tired face reflect on its shiny surface. It trembles, actually growing hot in his hand. The smile on Jacob's face falls into a slack idiocy, his sandy lashes lifting over ever-widening eyes. What the With a heavy slam, Jacob is rocketed back into the dune, billowing smoke pouring from the lamp's nozzle. It's unlike any smoke he's ever seen. Reds and purples swirl in puffing clouds, twinkles of light dancing around and forming a massive shape that hovers above Jacob like a childhood fantasy painted in jeweled tones. He'd lose his bladder if anything remained there. Instead, dumbfounded, he watches as the smoke solidifies into meaty hands, a barrel chest, and a face so beautiful it burns a brand on Jacob's mind. Shimmering, perfectly golden skin replaces the ethereal rainbow the figure was lost in. Elaborate bangles swallow its wrists and throat. a vest of embroidered violet and turquoise materializing and hiding its carved marble torso in a dash of modesty. Again, Jacob repeats, "What the fuck?" And again the thought doesn't get a chance to complete. "Who has summoned me?" booms from the figure, pummeling Jacob's chest with sound. A shrill "eek" slips from him before he rasps, You've got to be kidding me." His mind can't grasp the word genie at the moment, but Jacob knows that's exactly what this is. The creature eyes him, stroking a fine trimmed beard that edges its jaw as it looks Jacob up and down. Its lower body fades into a colorful mist that ebbs from the lamp, ensuring there's no mistaking this thing for a regular man. "Seems like you're having a bad day," the genie says. Jacob can only blanch. Legs form and solidify as it floats, its 2 feet adorned with ornate curly-toed slippers. "I can help with that. I'm guessing you know what I am." What Jacob knows is that he's going to pass out. "Aren't you a little far from home?" Swallowing nothing, his throat rubs painfully on itself. "You're supposed to be in the Middle East or something, yeah?" The genie shrugs and crosses its legs midair, cascading slowly to the ground like a puff of downy feathers. "Life's full of surprises." Jacob tries to say something else, but falls into a strangled coughing fit, his head getting light and his eyes rolling back. "I'm hallucinating," he thinks. "I'm dying and my brain's fried." The genie muses. "I can see we're getting nowhere like this." Its large hand comes up, middle finger against its thumb, pointer finger curled just so, and snap. It's as if Jacob has been made whole. Every ache and pain is gone. He feels watered and fed, sane and sound, as if the past week of miserable wanderings never happened at all. "How did you—" "If you haven't noticed, I'm kinda magic." "You think?" Jacob squeaks. The genie only cocks an eyebrow. Opportunity rages in Jacob's mind, thinking of every story he's ever been told about genies. "Do I get wishes?" It nods. "3?" It nods again. Jacob blurts, "I want to find the love of my life." There is no pause. With a heavy sigh, the genie rubs its eyes. "Why does everyone wish that? Can't just one person already have— never mind." Tipping its head left and right, snaps and pops echo from the genie's thickly tendoned neck. "So there are sort of restrictions." "Sort of?" "Okay, so there are definitely restrictions," it corrects. "Oh. Things out of scope, let's say. Things I can and can't do." Scrubbing its hands over its face in something like embarrassment, the magical male says, "See, I'm only a genie in training." Jacob's brain hitches. "A what?" "You heard me." They stare at each other for a minute as one of Jacob's frequent bouts of self-pity builds into a knot of pique, his mind grumbling, "Well, isn't that just dandy?" Narrowing his eyes, Jacob casts a sidelong glance at the golden-skinned djinn. "So I'm guessing world peace is off the table, then?" The genie huffs. "If I can't make 2 random idiots fall in love, how the hell could I possibly end all conflict everywhere?" "Then I wish to be a king," Jacob tries. "Yeah, that's not going to happen." "A prince?" "I think you're missing the point here." Edging from a general annoyance to a more focused irritation, Jacob asks, "Well, can you at least make me rich?" Suddenly on its feet, the genie grimaces as it paces in circles, shaking its head. "No one ever thinks about the socioeconomics of these things." It chops the side of one hand into the palm of the other for emphasis as it rants. "I can't just make someone rich out of nowhere. If I print you actual bills, it's counterfeit and hell rains down on you when the feds come in. If I funnel you money from other bank accounts, you get charged with fraud, theft, or embezzlement. If I skim you cash and you try to deposit it, they'll lock you up for drug dealing or something else nefarious because the money didn't come in on your pay stub. You want to go to jail?" Jacob's mouth hangs wide open. "But you used to get people gold and stuff back in the day." "You want to play in the gold market now?" it asks in a pitchy voice. Turning its hands inward towards its chest, it repeats, "Genie in training. I'm new, okay?" Looking around at nothing, Jacob scoffs. "Then get me the boss, Genie. What's the point of finding you if you can't even do anything?" "Excuse me, what?" The genie leans in, brows raised over slitted eyes, and cups a hand over his ear. Weren't you dying just now? Jacob is beyond hearing. That's just how it goes for me, isn't it? Get a girlfriend, get gonorrhea. Come out here for enlightenment and get screwed by the environment. Find an all-powerful genie just to be told that he's an incompetent, how dare, piece of... The genie goes from gold to rouge. Trash! Negative wishes, the genie bellows, rearing up into a blackened, stormy figure, at least 3 stories tall. Blazing eyes now flare like supernovas within the deep, dark shadows that were once the genie's beautiful face. It points a newly gargantuan finger at Jacob, only inches away from caving in his chest, and repeats, 3 negative wishes. Idiotically defiant, Jacob puffs out his chest. Are you stupid or something? What the hell are negative wishes? The genie growls, 4 then, or shall I pick infinity? The nightshade nightmare leans over until it blots out the sun, smothering the day in oppressive shrouds of cold nothingness. Heavy fists pound into the sand on either side of Jacob's head. Thud, thud, until all he can see are those blinding starbursts for eyes narrowing on him like he's something to be eaten. It's terrifying. All fight leaves, all bravado lost. Shaking and throat-bobbing, Jacob stammers, 4, okay, all right, 4. What do I do? That blackness hovers closer until Jacob can feel a cool mist letting off electric static, sending prickles up his arms and making his hair stand on end. He cringes until he's laying flat in the sand, hands up in defense over his face. You will serve me until my wishes are complete. The genie's dark exhale shakes the ground, stirring up eddies. Okay. Jacob is breathless as he curls like an armadillo ready to roll away. Whatever you need. That huge black hand comes up again in a familiar gesture, and snaps. Suddenly they're standing in Jacob's house? The genie is golden-skinned once more, admiring its fingernails and pursing its lips. Jacob looks around, trembling, stunned to be back in the dull surroundings of his kitchen. It feels impossible, surreal, but everything seems to be accounted for. Fake palm trees? Check. Empty fridge? Check. Dining chairs? Check. Litter box Jacob never threw away even after the cat died? Check. Welcome home, the genie says with lifted eyebrows. Your name is Jacob. I know. And I'm going to make my first wish. Are you ready? Jacob could never be ready. I wish for you to make me coffee at 6 a.m. every day, including weekends. The genie flicks his eyes to the digital clock glowing on the little off-white microwave door. With the power of time zone changes, it now reads an ominous 5:55 in the morning. Every ounce of blood in Jacob's body hits his ankles, and he swoons. He's never felt anything so urgent, so all-consuming in his entire life. You gotta be kidding me, he says again, even as his body moves on its own. Ingredients in hand, it's as if he's been physically warped to the countertop and compelled to shove things into the coffee machine until it begs for mercy. 5:56, and Jacob is quaking with unleashed energy, twiddling his fingers and bouncing on his heels, looking at the clock in tense bursts, praying for the batch to brew in time. 5:57, and he can smell the familiar scent as the drip starts. 5:58, and the glass pot is partway full. 5:59, and Jacob gives up entirely, taking the partially filled reservoir, burning himself with a hiss in the process, and sloshing it into a mug that shakes in his jittery hand. The rest of the coffee machine pours useless liquid onto the burner as 6 o'clock hits and Jacob drops to his knees, holding out a mug that says, "Dese nuts," out to the genie in supplication, an overwhelming feeling of fulfillment coming over him. The genie whispers, "Cream and sugar." And what can Jacob do but comply? The contents of these nuts is now a light caramel color that Jacob somehow knows is exactly what the genie wants. He offers it again, hilariously horrified, and says unwittingly, "Your wish is my command, master." When the subservient word falls from his traitorous lips, Jacob's head shakes back and forth rapidly. He tries to shout "bastard" instead, but it only comes out as "master" once more, delivered with respect and reverence. The genie's smug grin reigns supreme. Eyes half-lidded and brows to its dark hairline, it leans down and takes the proffered mug in one hand. Voice silky, it intones, "Welcome to my world," before drinking its goddamn coffee. That is part of chapter 1. And the story goes on and on and on. There are 3 chapters in this story, in which we'll see Jacob fulfill his wishes to the genie. If you'd like to hear more from me, I'm going to be reading a part of each first chapter of the 4 short stories in my most recent book, The Retelling of Fairy Tales. So check out my YouTube channel for all of the different videos available, and go ahead and check the links down below to be able to get links directly to the book. Thank you. Thank you so much, and see you later. Bye. Why don't I have any stickers on my Kindle?